Abba distanced himself from Destiny. If you guys haven't been keeping up with this entire situation, it's really nasty work. Let me just tell you, it's really bad. Apparently, Destiny jumped out the window and, in his debaucherous ways, was passing around videos of himself being intimate with other people he's hooked up with. One of those other people that he was sending a video to, that got leaked. And so Destiny is getting canceled. Big shocker. Destiny's been on a sick one for a long time. What was surprising was Abba's reaction to this. So we're going to play this little clip of Abba confronting Destiny. And then we're gonna let Abba cook in terms of his entire very coherent, and I would say, dare I say, Christian worldview aligned in terms of how he approaches this conversation. I sent this to him privately. I just was like, man, I think he really nailed it here. So, heads up.
Hide your kids, hide your wife.
Explicit.
Yeah. If you engage in hedonism, I would say you're self-destructive.
So if you engage in hedonism, I would say you're self-destructive. Now, what I like about Abba is oftentimes, not all the times, but oftentimes Abba will have like biblical takes. And Abba's not a Christian. I don't even know if he's like a person of faith, but he has these very, let's just say, biblically aligned takes that I think are spot on. In context of Destiny, I think he definitely nails it here.
Say the same thing about Destiny. I think he can be self-destructive, and I don't think.
So this is Destiny. Destiny is a political streamer. If you guys don't know who he is, I've actually debated him before on the No Jumper podcast. He's a handful. He's a wild boy, to say the least. And Abba confronted him about this. It all hit the fan. Destiny's getting canceled. And Abba's take on this, I think, is very, 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 very sharp.
I entirely disagree.
So wait,
I completely disagree. I don't think I'm self-destructive at all.
Oh, hold up. I was actually curious. You don't think that to some degree your hedonism doesn't bite you in the ass?
No, I think I have a really good engagement with most of my hobbies. I think I do it pretty well. I think that my mental functioning is very high. I think my career is incredibly successful. There are parts of my life that I can improve, but I think that people look at some of the standard markers for trouble and they, for some reason, project a ton of stuff onto me. But I think I'm living like one of the healthiest, fullest lives that I possibly could.
Constantly.
So this is absolute cope on his part, and I think this is insane for him to say this in light of what's now happening to him.
Having poor relationships with women over a long period of time, or in other situations, STDs, different things like that. Eventually, that hedonism comes back to bite them in the life, and they also recognize they could have invested that time a lot better.
So wait, what do you ask us about this? Like, what was your idea of this?
Yeah, it's not like I have like 100 kids and 5 million STDs and like.
No, you just constantly. Okay, I'm not gonna talk about it.
Well, you might as well. No, you drop the accusation. Go for it. You just
okay, again.
Say it. No, say it. No, shut up, Melina. Shut up. Let him talk. What do you mean? Constantly. Anything you do in life that's going to increase like your ability to like have fun or do like crazy stuff or whatever.
Increase your ability to have fun. Yeah.
Is always going to carry with it like the risk of death, right?
Absolutely.
Like you have no chance of dying by falling out of a plane unless you go skydiving. But that's not an argument. It's never skydiving.
But it is an argument against maybe skydiving 1,000 times if you don't want to die that way.
Well, if you want to skydive 1,000 times, then skydive 1,000 times. Like what's wrong? What happened to all the self-empowerment that you guys were talking about earlier?
I mean, it just depends on whether or not you want that outcome. If you're saying like, oh, I don't want this kind of destructive thing, or I don't want to end up dying by skydiving, then maybe don't skydive every other day.
Yeah, but I'm not complaining about that. You guys are. If you're
so this was Destiny's entire quote. Now listen to this part in the conversation. What I think Abba nails it with regards to this idea, the North Star that you see in culture today, with regards to ethics, with regards to morality. The North Star with all this sort of stuff is consent. As long as consent is present, show me the harm. Show me the harm. There's consent. Two people consented. They're present. Ignore the fact that there's a massive power dynamic between Destiny. Ignore the fact that there's a age dynamic with Destiny in these 18, 19, 20-year-olds that he's hooking up with. And he's sharing these explicit videos with other people he's trying to hook up with. And it's just one big nasty mess. And it's refreshing to see someone like Abba take a very strong stance against it.
And when he's asked why he likes bringing on these self-destructive women in his streams and in his life, he says it's because it's fun. It's fun for him to bring on women who are probably going to, at some point negatively impact his life in a huge way.
You know, it's also, where this is my man Kirk always says, what's also fun? The word fun is also in the word funeral. Oh yeah, you can have fun and it leads to your funeral. And this might lead to Destiny's a career funeral, if you will. The stuff that he's now dabbled into and what he's engaged with and what he's being accused of and the type of stuff that's leaking may be the end of him.
He knows it's going to be short-lived. He doesn't care because it's fun. That's a moral failing to me, okay? That shows to me that you don't really care about how you affect the other people in your life when these people become atomic bombs who affect everyone in the area. And it tells me that you don't really care that much about your career when you attack, again, who will f up things in your area. And this comes down to the thing about like, oh, if everyone consents, it's fine. But it's not. If you know that the people you're going to be involved with are only short-term partners, and you constantly see the after effect of most of your hookups and your interactions leaving a trail of broken hearts and disappointed people, that's a moral failing.
I have a massive update for you. I'm sure by this point, you've heard about the Blessed God Summit happening March 27th, 28th, 29th here in beautiful Carlsbad, California. But we've heard your requests. We've conceded to your demand. There are virtual tickets that are now available for the Blessed God Summit, so you can access it from anywhere in the world, as well as access to the replays. And for those of you guys that are looking for something extra, we're also offering a virtual ticket and an exclusive Bless God Summit merch bundle. There's some amazing art and some exclusive pieces done by our friend Josh Nadeau from Sword and Pencil that you have to check out. So join us online for the virtual event and experience some sessions from my favorite podcasters, pastors, and performers. We have a stacked lineup. I'm talking about Preston Perry, Dr. Sean McDowell, Inspiring Philosophy. What do you mean? Lila Rose, Alan Parr, and his wife Jen Parr. We even have Nate Sala from Wise Disciple, Gavin Ortland, David Wood, Avery from God Logic Apologetics. And on the pastoral side, we have my friend Daniel Golding, Pastor Ed Newton from CBC in San Antonio, and my personal pastor from Rhythm Church, Pastor Jeff Moores and his wife Erin Moores. You won't want to miss out from amazing performances from America's Got Talent winner Dustin Savella, Billboard charting hip-hop artist John Keith, and Miles Minnick. And we're still finalizing a few more speakers. So head over to blessgod.shop, get your virtual ticket now, and you can get yourself a bundle with some of the exclusive merch as well. I'll see you over there, all right? Peace. Again, this is contrary to everything that is preached in culture today, as long as there's consent. But Abba's saying, no, you can have consent and it still be a moral failure. You could have consent and it still be harm, that it still be negative. Why? Because most of what you're operating in is complete hedonism. And so he breaks this down, I think, magnificently, explains why he ended up distancing himself from it. But it's absolutely contrary to this notion of like consent above all else. As long as there's consent, that's all that matters. And it's like, no, you could have consent technically or legally and it still be harmful and self-destructive.
Sure, it's not illegal. It's not criminal. But I can still look at that behavior and like, yo, you just spend time dating these women and it's just hurting all of them. You have no intentions of committing to most of them. This is all fun. You know, it's nothing responsible. You're an irresponsible person and that reflects on your character. You know, with this whole situation, I don't think Stephen shared this because he thought it was okay to share. I personally believe, this is my theory, that he shared this because he just didn't care and he didn't think that the other person would ever find out. And that to me is almost worse. Because it shows that you don't care about the people you slept with and who shared that intimate moment with you.
This is a sickness of the highest order.
Which I want to say that part might be a crime, that you're sharing videos of these adult, quote-unquote, consensual acts, but you can't pass that stuff around to other potential partners. Yuck.
And it shows to me that if you are going to be able to avoid the consequences of it, you'll say and do things behind closed doors that are just unbecoming. And if I'm your friend and I see you do that to your other people that you slept with and you call friends, then I can only imagine that even for me, I might not be safe and I can't trust you. You know, and it's a shame that this came from a hack, but regardless, what it reveals to me personally is like, I could never afford to trust this person with personal stuff that's really close to me or dear to me. Because if they think they can get away with it, no one else is going to find out. They might just share that. And Stephen might watch this and disagree strongly, but the evidence is not in your favor. And I can't rely on what you're going to say. I'm going to rely on your past and your history. And what I see is another moral failing where it's like, when no one's watching, you're not doing the right thing.
Hey, shout out to Mockingjay. She had a great text here. She said, Destiny is living like a true atheist. What's wrong with that? Abba is the one stealing from God's morals. That's a great point. So yes, I think Destiny is living the conclusions of atheism, which is either nihilism or hedonism. And I think the interesting part is not that Abba is stealing from God's morals. I think this is where we would go into the idea of Romans 2, that though they had no law, they were a law unto themselves. I think this is where I would go in Ecclesiastes, that eternity is written on the hearts of men, meaning that because we're created in the image of God, we all know right from wrong. And we all know that consent isn't the North Star. And we all know that casual hookups aren't beneficial to us. You don't have to have Jesus to know morality. This is why Romans also says that none are without excuse, right? So I think that's what I'm pointing out, is I think Abba, it's not that he's stealing from God. I think he's reflecting that he's created in the image of God, and he's willing to say this in contrast to the culture without necessarily having an allegiance to Jesus or a biblical worldview, if you will. But it is a biblical morality that he's saying here.
You can massage it however you want. It's a shitty thing to share a tape, but it's not the worst thing. I'm sorry. That's fucking garbage behavior, okay? It just is. Call it a spade. It's garbage behavior. Don't mush it over because you like your favorite streamer. Don't mush it over because you think he's important politically. It's garbage behavior. And like the reason why he's doing it too, it's so he can pillow talk a 19-year-old. I was like,
This is
it's not that hard to bag a teenager.
of the highest
Pause.
order.
That's not.
By the way, that's Abo on that drop, which is hilarious. He says it's not hard to bag a teenager.
Crazy. But you know what I mean? It's not. And you shared like it is such a weird form of like, I don't know what that shit is. And one thing he said, I think he said something like, you know, that was me a couple of years back. I'm on Vyvanse now, which Vyvanse I think is like some kind of drug, ADHD. I don't know.
Now, I don't know anything about this Vyvanse thing, but his parallel here to religion is kind of funny. And I don't know how to feel about it. I want to see what y'all think about it, because I think everything he says at this point is hilarious. But this part is pretty funny. Check this. Listen to what he says next.
He's like, I'm on Vyvanse now. I'm really just focused on political stuff. I want to stay away from the drama. It's like, I didn't realize they made a, you know, finding God moment for drugs.
A finding God moment for druggies. That is hilarious. So basically what he's saying is Destiny is saying, because he's on this new medication for whatever, his ADHD, and that people are weaponizing this ADHD as a finding God moment for drugs. That's hilarious. But I like people finding God and finding Jesus, but that connection is I've just never heard it before.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know how some people do a bunch of shit for their whole life, and all of a sudden they go to church once and they're like, I found God. Like it absolves all the bullshit they've just done. I don't know. It was such a weird way. Like when you're being said that you're doing a bunch of foul shit, you've hurt a bunch of people, and like mention the fact that you're on Vyvanse and you're a changed person. It's just like, I don't know. Something about it just seemed off to me. And it just didn't seem like someone who was really repenting or felt some type of way about what they did. It just felt like, it made me think of Sneeko, you know? Sneeko's doing all this like goofy red pill, and all of a sudden he finds Allah and everything's just forgiven.
I think this is one of those things where we shouldn't just roll out the red carpet and give anyone a clean pass without there being a transition period, right? Someone pointed out Nala Ray, you know? I haven't kept up too much with her situation, but I did see a video where she did the math and explained the breakdown, and was more or less like, hey, I didn't leave when I left OF, I didn't leave with much. Now, should Nala Ray be platformed as an authority or as someone that is a Christian influencer? Probably not. She probably needs a season to just sit, you know, and figure it out. But the accusations against her specifically were that, oh, well, is she still rich off of the OF thing? And I don't think she is. I made that call, and then I saw it on her Instagram story where she says how, you know, after taxes and after the fees to OF and after all these things and not. But this is why, you know, I would say when someone's a public Christian, there's a degree of influence they have, and perhaps they shouldn't be positioning themselves as an influencer, because sometimes that equates to being a teacher. And James says not many of you should be teachers because you have a heavier judgment on you. So I think these things are better done gradually and oftentimes privately, if possible. And someone's conversion can be genuine, but they shouldn't be in a position to try and be all of a sudden a debater or a public figure, if that makes sense, right? Because then it's just going to get messy, you know. So anyway, props to Abba. I think that was a great take. Yeah, I think this Destiny thing is super interesting and sad, and I hope that I hope that he figures it out. I really do hope that he figures it out. Hey, thank you so much for checking out the video. Please be sure to comment below and subscribe and all that good stuff. And check out this other video that YouTube seems to be recommending just for you. Let me know if they nailed it. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.